The rain pounded the roof of our Portland, Oregon, home, a relentless drumbeat that drowned out the world. I stood in the living room, my heart a stone in my chest, as Laura stood by the door, her suitcase packed, her eyes avoiding mine. "I can't do this anymore, David," she said, her voice flat, final. "I need to live my truth." Our youngest, Ethan, only 6, clung to her leg, his sobs muffled by her jeans. "Mommy, don't go," he cried, but she pried his fingers loose, her face a mask of resolve. Rachel, 13, stood frozen in the hallway, her eyes wide with betrayal. Jake, 10, glared from the couch, his fists clenched. Laura didn't wait for them to sleep, didn't offer goodbyes. She walked out into the storm, chasing a man from her yoga class, leaving me to pick up the pieces of our family. Laura and I were never married, but for 12 years, we'd built a life together, 3 kids, a mortgage, school plays, and late-night talks over coffee. We weren't perfect, but we were a team, or so I thought. That night, as the door slammed shut, I became the sole caretaker of Rachel, Jake, and Ethan. The silence after her departure was louder than the rain. The years that followed were a blur of survival. I worked double shifts at the lumber mill and moonlighted as a delivery driver, my hands calloused, my heart heavy. Rachel stopped talking, her once bright spirit dimmed. Jake got into fights at school, his anger a mirror of my own unspoken pain. Ethan cried himself to sleep, asking why mommy didn't love him. I braided Rachel's hair, packed lunches, helped with algebra, and hid my tears in the shower. Neighbors whispered, some blamed me, others pitied me, but none understood the weight of raising 3 kids alone while carrying the ghost of Laura's betrayal. I never lied to them about their mother. I didn't teach them to hate her, but I didn't sugarcoat the truth. She chose herself over us. As the years passed, we rebuilt. Rachel became a nurse, her compassion a quiet strength. Jake opened a mechanic shop, his hands steady as his resolve. Ethan joined the army, his heart brave despite its scars. We thrived not because of Laura's absence, but because of the love we forged without her. Then, 21 years later, she appeared. I opened the door to find Laura, grayer, wearier, her suitcase a cruel echo of that rainy night. "David," she said, her voice trembling, "I'm sorry. He's gone. Michael, the man I left for. I want to see the kids." Her words stirred no anger, only a strange calm. I let her in, not out of forgiveness, but curiosity. She spoke of regret, loneliness, a life unraveled. "They're not your kids anymore," I said, my voice steady. "You walked away." As I sent her to the guest room, a woman appeared at the edge of the porch light. Sophie Miller, Laura's old friend from yoga, her eyes sharp with secrets. "David," she said softly, "there's more to Laura's story than you know." Her words hung like a storm cloud, hinting at a truth I wasn't ready to face. What had Laura been hiding all these years? Laura's return was a pebble in a still pond, rippling through our lives. I told the kids the next morning, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. Rachel's face hardened, her nurse's calm replaced by fury. "She doesn't get to waltz back in," she spat, storming out. Jake shrugged, his voice cold. "She's nothing to me." Ethan, home on leave, just squeezed my shoulder, his eyes searching mine. "You okay, Dad?" he asked. I nodded, but Sophie's cryptic words gnawed at me. What did she know? Sophie had been Laura's shadow in their yoga days, always lingering at the edges of our life. Now she was back, her presence a puzzle. I met her at a diner on the outskirts of Portland, the neon sign flickering like my nerves. "Laura wasn't just running to Michael," Sophie said, her voice low. "She was running from something, someone. Michael was involved in something shady, and Laura got caught in it." My heart sank. Shady? Laura had always been impulsive, but criminal? Sophie slid a photo across the table, a grainy image of Laura and Michael with a man I didn't recognize, his face hard, his eyes cold. "That's Victor Crane," she said. "He's tied to a money laundering ring." Laura knew too much. I drove home, my mind spinning. Had Laura left to protect us, or to save herself? I confronted her that night, her eyes darting nervously. "I didn't want to drag you into it," she admitted. "Michael promised a new life, But it was a lie. Victor threatened me if I didn't leave. Her story felt like a half-truth, her regret laced with fear. I didn't trust her, but I couldn't ignore the danger Sophie's words implied. The kids wanted nothing to do with her, but Sophie's revelation changed things. I contacted an old friend, Detective Mark Reynolds, who'd helped Jake out of a scrape years ago. Mark confirmed Victor Crane was under investigation for laundering money through yoga studios and fake charities. Laura's name popped up in some files, he said. She might be a witness or an accomplice. The thought twisted my gut. Had the woman I'd loved been a criminal all along? Meanwhile, Sophie lingered, her visits to the house frequent, her concern genuine but tinged with something deeper. One evening, as we sat on the porch, she touched my hand, her eyes soft. "You've carried so much, David," she said. "You deserve more than this." Her words stirred something I hadn't felt in years, a spark of connection, forbidden by the weight of Laura's return. I pulled away, but her gaze lingered, a promise of something I couldn't yet name. That night, I found a note slipped under my door. "Victor knows Laura's back. Be careful." My heart raced. Was Sophie warning me, or pulling me deeper into a game I didn't understand? The kids were my priority, but Laura's past was a storm threatening to engulf us all. The note was a spark in a powder keg. I hid it from the kids, but sleep eluded me, my mind tangled in Laura's lies and Sophie's warnings. Mark dug deeper into Victor Crane's operation, uncovering a web of fake yoga retreats used to funnel money. Laura's name appeared in bank records, tied to payments she claimed were gifts from Michael. "She's either a victim or a player," Mark said, his voice grim. "Either way, she's trouble." I confronted Laura again, this time in the kitchen, the kids at Rachel's for dinner. "Tell me the truth," I demanded. "Were you part of Victor's scheme?" Her eyes filled with tears, but I saw the flicker of calculation. "I didn't know at first," she said. "Michael pulled me in, said it was just business. When I realized what was happening, I couldn't leave him. Victor would have come after you and the kids." Her story was a threadbare quilt, patched with excuses. I didn't believe her, but I needed proof. Sophie became my unexpected ally. She'd been Laura's confidant years ago, privy to secrets I'd never known. Laura kept a journal, she told me one evening, her voice hushed as we walked through Portland's misty streets. It's hidden in her old yoga studio, under a loose floorboard. Her knowledge was too precise, her involvement too deep. Was she helping me, or using me to settle her own score with Laura? I broke into the studio that night, my heart pounding as I pried up the floorboard. The journal was there, its pages filled with Laura's handwriting, dates, names, amounts. It was a ledger of Victor's deals, with Laura's initials beside several entries. My stomach churned. She hadn't just left us, she'd been complicit, choosing money over her family. I handed the journal to Mark, who promised to escalate the case. "Victor's dangerous, David," he warned. "Keep your kids close." The kids were my anchor. Rachel, still furious, refused to hear Laura's name. Jake worked late at his shop, avoiding the drama. Ethan, home for a week, sensed my tension. "Dad, what's going on?" he asked, his soldier's instincts sharp. I told him about Victor, not Laura's role. "We'll protect you," he said, his voice firm. But I was the one protecting them, always had been. Sophie's presence complicated everything. Her quiet support, her gentle touches, stirred feelings I'd buried since Laura left. One night, as we sorted through evidence at my kitchen table, she leaned close, her hand brushing mine. "You're not alone, David," she whispered. The air crackled with possibility, but guilt stopped me. Laura's shadow loomed, and Sophie's motives were unclear. Was she my ally, or a pawn in Victor's game? A call from Mark shattered the moment. "Victor's been spotted in Portland," he said. "He knows about the journal." Fear gripped me. Laura's return wasn't just about regret, it was a fuse, and I'd lit the match. Who was Sophie really protecting, me or herself? The threat of Victor Crane hung over us like a storm cloud, but I refused to let it break us. Mark's team put Laura under protective custody, her role as a witness confirmed by the journal. She begged to see the kids, but I stood firm. "You made your choice," I said, my voice cold. Her tears meant nothing now, the evidence painted her as complicit, not a victim. She'd traded our family for a life of lies, and I wouldn't let her unravel what we'd built. Sophie's role became clearer. She'd been investigating Victor for years, driven by her own betrayal. Michael had been her partner before Laura stole him. I stayed close to her, waiting for a chance to expose them, she confessed one evening, her eyes raw with pain. But you, David, you made me believe in something good again. Her words broke through my walls, and when she kissed me softly, I didn't pull away. It was a quiet love, born of shared scars, not passion, a promise to heal together. The kids rallied around me. Rachel, still angry, agreed to meet Laura once, her nurse's heart softening just enough to hear her out. Jake refused, his loyalty to me unwavering. Ethan, ever the protector, coordinated with Mark to ensure our safety. Victor was arrested in a sting operation, his empire crumbling under the weight of the journal's evidence. Laura testified, her regret public but irrelevant. The kids didn't need her, they had me, and now, Sophie. The backyard barbecue was our victory. Ethan flipped steaks on the grill, his laughter blending with his kids' squeals as they ran through sprinklers. Rachel arrived with her husband, her smile brighter than I'd seen in years. Jake pulled up with a case of beer, his gruff exterior hiding a heart full of love. Sophie stood by my side, her hand in mine, a quiet anchor in the storm we'd weathered. Laura's letter arrived that morning, left on the porch with an old photo of us, young, smiling, whole. "I don't deserve forgiveness," she wrote. "I'm sorry." I looked at the photo, not with longing but with peace. The woman I'd loved was gone the night she left. The family we'd built was stronger without her. As the sun set, I raised a glass to my kids, my heart full. "To us," I said. They cheered, their voices a chorus of resilience. Sophie squeezed my hand, her eyes promising a future I hadn't dared imagine. The storm was over and we'd thrived, not because of Laura's regret, but because of the love we'd forged in her absence. Victor's shadow was gone, and Sophie's light was mine. We were whole, and no one could take that away.